Hey, everybody. Welcome back to NYY Recaps. Today, I am joined by Patrick Hennessy of Unhinged New York, up-and-comer in the YouTube community. How's it going, Patrick?
How's it going, Derek? Thanks for having me on today.
No problem. I'm a big fan of your work. I like the hustle, respect the hustle. So what we're going to do
Always.
today is we're going to play a little GM, going to play Who Says No. So last night, Patrick and I both wrote down some trades to propose to each other, and we'll just say, who says no. So, Patrick, you want to start it off, fire it up?
Yeah, I'll hit you with my first one. So let me give some background before I say this. Josh Hader is an absolute monster. So
Beast.
let me offer my trade. Now, if I was Brian Cashman, I'm giving up Miguel Andujar, Devi Garcia, infielder Ezekiel Duran, who's like not that much of a known well prospect in the Yankees organization, but he's solid, and cash. You got to
Right.
send cash to the Brewers for Josh Hader because they need some money. Maybe
Right.
give them like a cool vending machine. Maybe give them some healthy snacks. But also, that's not all you're getting back in that deal. You're getting Brock Holt. I know he was just DFA'd, so by the time the Hader trade would come around, I don't even know if he would still be on the team. He might be released at that point.
Well, he's got 10 days. Once you get DFA'd, you got 10 days to get dealt. So they could hang on to
Yeah.
him with anticipation of, hey, we'll deal him at the deadline.
Yeah, it's possible. It's definitely possible. So, I mean, I could definitely see that happening. And I don't think the Yankees would only take Hader if they're giving up 3 players. So they would try to steal Holt as well. Because I don't know if you remember, but they were linked to him in the offseason, if I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah.
Yeah, they've always shown interest in him. He would be able to fill like a veteran role in that infield because especially with Glaber out 2 to 3 weeks like they announced today. Um, it's a very inexperienced infield, except for Gio at third. You got Void at first. Then you got Ford also spending time at first. You got Wade at second for the most part, and then I'm assuming Thairo Estrada is going to be the everyday shortstop. So having Holt being able to come in and like fill some holes in there would be solid. And also with Britton out now, you have a serious need in that bullpen for a left-handed arm, and especially with Avilon out now too. What left-handers do they have in that bullpen?
That's a good point. And Britton's going to be out for a while. A
Yeah,
hamstring for a pitcher is tough because you
it
land on
is
that
tough.
leg every time.
Yeah,
If
they
if
definitely have a hole.
if I'm Cashman and I get called with that trade, I'm probably renegotiating. It's close. It's close. You did your work. I appreciate it, but I feel like Devi Garcia might be a bit of an overpay. I would be hesitant to trade a
Really?
young starter that has like serious potential for a relief pitcher, no matter how many, no matter how good that relief pitcher was. I think the Yankees would be better off going for a lesser tier starting pitcher in that deal. Send them a Mike King. Send him a Mike
Okay.
King and a Miguel Andujar. Andujar still is a wild card because you don't know if it's just a slump or if he's not coming back. You know what I mean? Greg Bird
Is
never
it
came back from
bad?
that.
But is it bad that I'm more high on King than I am on Garcia?
Well, I like King a little better at this point
So do
because
I.
he's pitched in the major leagues. But I think Devi Garcia has a higher ceiling. I think because he throws harder. He throws
Yeah.
97, 98. And scouts seem to like him better. He's also a little bit different type of a pitcher. He's a strikeout pitcher. Mike King is more of a sinker guy. So I think
Yeah.
King might actually be the more reliable guy. So you're actually getting, if you're the Reds, a better pitcher, but the Yankees are retaining that card, that wild card that, Garcia might turn into the next Pedro.
It's
So that's
possible. It's very
if
possible.
I'm Cashman, that's what I'm saying. And I'm saying, call me back.
Damn. I guess I got to find a new job.
All right, so I got one for you. This
Let's
time
go.
I am dealing Davy Garcia, but I'm getting somebody a little more prominent. I'm sending Davy Garcia. I'm throwing in fan favorite, don't hate the messenger, Clint Frazier, and I'm throwing in Tyler Wade, but I'm getting back Max Scherzer and I'm getting back Asdrubal Cabrera. Max Scherzer is under contract for 1 more year. He's already won a World Series with the Nationals. He makes about $22 million next year. Let's say that the Yankees take those $22 million off the Nationals' books, and they're getting a good young pitcher he's not going to be Max Scherzer, but you've already got Strasburg and Corbin, so he could potentially be a solid 3 or 4 if he works out. And you're getting Clint Frazier, who, if you pair him with Soto, a righty and a lefty hitter, back to back, that's really tough to deal with for opposing managers for a decade. because both of those guys are going to hit 35 home runs a year for a decade. And then the Yankees also getting Asdrubal Cabrera because, like we mentioned, Gleyber's out. So you need somebody to fill in. I'd prefer to go with a veteran. He's played in New York. He played for the Mets. Yeah. He's played in the playoffs a lot. I feel like he's not going to be fazed by a postseason atmosphere. He's a switch hitter, so he balances out your lineup a bit. So that's the move I'm making. If you're the Nats GM, I think Rizzo. What's he?
So if I'm Mike Rizzo, and Brian Cashman calls me with that offer, I'm probably laughing right in his face. So not only is Max Scherzer one of the best pitchers in baseball, if not the best pitcher in baseball, if your offer to me is Davy Garcia, who's a questionable pitching prospect, who's never shown any real sort of potential in the big leagues, and then you also have Clint Frazier, who has been up and down his entire career with no substantial MLB production, and then Tyler Wade, I'm laughing. Especially because I don't think the Nationals are in rebuild mode. If they were in rebuild mode, it might be a different story. But I think that they're fresh off a World Series win and they still think they could contend. And also, Strasburg is down now. So if you trade Scherzer, all they have left is Corbin in that rotation because I'm pretty sure Strasburg is out for the season. So, yeah, I can't see that happening. If Cashman wanted to make that deal, he would have to throw a huge name at the Nationals. Probably someone like Dominguez, maybe Gleyber Torres. That's probably what it would have to take to get the deal done, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you that this is an unrealistic trade, but like we said, it's fun. It's fun to talk about trades. I had trouble even writing Jason Dominguez's name down on like a trade rumor thing because I don't want to be the guy who like starts that push for the fans to like, man, we should trade Dominguez. No,
I want to hop on the train though to call him up. I'd love to, especially with all the injuries. Bring him up. Bring him up. What do you have to lose?
If you're out of it with 2 weeks left, why not?
Just do it. It's like the Mets calling up Tebow. Do it already. Let me get into my second trade here. And my second trade revolves around a piece that you included in the Scherzer deal. And that's Deivi Garcia. I want to send Deivi Garcia and Zach Granite to the Rangers for former Yankee legend Lance Lynn. So let's kind of break it down a little bit here. Lance Lynn has turned into like a Cy Young candidate this year. Right. He has a 1.37 ERA. It's fourth in MLB. He's absolute tanking every single start. I mean, he just looks like a beast on the mound. And we know that the only thing that would kind of make this deal not happen in my eyes is the Yankees not wanting to admit that they were wrong in not signing him, being like, oh, like we could have signed him, but now we have to trade for him and give up some prospects. That's the only reason I might not see it happening. But the Rangers aren't really contending, so I don't think that they really have a need for Lynn at this point. They could take a young outfielder like Granite and Deivi Garcia, who, like you said, has the potential to be a top-of-the-line starter. So they could take a risk with him and just send Lynn to the Yankees. And personally, I don't think the Yankees are too high on Deivi anymore. So they might just try to sell high on him and capitalize in the moment and win this season.
So it's funny how Devi's not a major prospect with not much potential when he's going for Scherzer, but when he's going for Lance Lynn, he's got a lot of potential.
You can't really compare the two pitchers. When you involve him in a deal for Lynn, he's like top of the line. When you involve him in a deal for Scherzer, he's like minimal.
So if I'm Cashman, I think Deivi is too much to ask for Lance Lynn because Lance Lynn did get pummeled in the postseason, his only trip with the Yankees. I see do you know who the Rangers' first baseman is right now?
Is it Guzman?
Todd Frazier.
Is he playing first base for them?
He's playing first base for them right now. They released Greg Bird. They had signed him. They've had a bit of a merry-go-round at first base. I think Mike Ford is a legit major league hitter. I think, and I think major leagues recognize him. I would offer Mike Ford for Lance Lynn straight up.
Yankee fans would riot.
They would riot, but a good trade should hurt both sides a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, so you would just send Ford straight up, or who else?
I would send Ford. I would offer Ford straight up, and I would draw a line in the sand because Ford to me is a major league caliber hitter. He's a 30 home run potential hitter. He's got that thick frame. He's not getting hurt diving for balls and shit. He's going to go out there and play first base every day for you for a decade and mash. And in Texas, where it's hot and the ball carries, he could hit 40. You put him and Joey Gallo back-to-back in the lineup against a right-handed pitcher, one of them's going to get you every single day.
But then let's say Voit goes down, God forbid. Who's your first baseman?
Well, you could shift LeMahieu over there. You could put Andujar at first base. I mean, there's a lot of
Andujar.
I know he's not. I know he's not great. You could put honestly, you could probably put somebody like Tyro Estrada at first base because he's got the infield skills. You could play Tyler Wade. You could play Tyler Wade at first base. You could put Gary Sanchez at first base. In fact, they probably should put Gary Sanchez at first base eventually.
I think it's only a matter of time, to be honest with you.
Here, just if our audience doesn't mind a quick side rant, I know that the stats and the metrics say that Gary has gotten better as a catcher, but is it just me or does he fucking drop a ball in the 8th inning every game with a guy on third? Every game.
I say the same exact thing. That's why I truly I respect advanced metrics, but I can't rely on them because those same metrics think Gary is an amazing defender this season and Gio sucks.
Exactly.
So it's like, at what point do you trust these metrics? I think it's just like luck and probability at this point.
Right.
Because they don't take into account the human aspect of the game. And that's what pisses me off the most because baseball, there's such a crucial human aspect that's ignored sometimes.
Yeah, and the thing with metrics, when you take into account shifting and things like that, it really doesn't – you can't grade somebody's range when the ball's pretty much being hit right to them every time these days. So, I mean, and like you said, Gio is obviously an elite defensive third baseman. And Gary, I don't know. They say he's great behind the plate, but every time I turn on the TV, he's dropping something. So
no, you're right. You're right, 100%.
All right, so here's my next deal. All right, so I'm trading, and I don't want to do this because Clark is my boy. I'm trading Clark Schmidt to the Reds for Trevor Bauer.
I mean, once again, if I'm the Reds GM and Brian Cashman calls me with that, I'm probably laughing in his face. Well, actually, now that I think about it, Bauer's a free agent at the end of the season, right?
Bauer's a free agent in a month, and Clark Schmidt is a former #1 pick who's on the verge.
Yeah, so probably it's the other way around. If the Reds GM calls Brian Cashman, he's laughing in their face because I'm a big Clark Schmidt guy. I think that he should already be up at this point, and we saw what he could do in summer camp. He definitely has major league stuff. He could put down major league hitters dominantly. He literally killed the Yankees A lineup, demolished them. So I wouldn't give him up for 1 month of Trevor Bauer, because then what happens if Bauer comes over here and he cuts his finger on a drone, he can't pitch in the playoffs? That would be a complete disaster.
Yeah.
Also, I love Trevor Bauer and I love everything that he's doing for marketing the game, but I don't think the Yankees would want that on their team. I don't think they would want a guy vlogging in their clubhouse. I don't think that they would want all their behind-the-scenes stuff on camera like that. I love him, but I can't see that deal happening.
Yeah, I wrote the same thing down. I said why it may not happen. That one of the things that is unmentionable about this is that Garrett Cole and Trevor Bauer have beef.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Back in the day. And I don't think the Yankees would want to screw up the chemistry by bringing in Bauer. But to me, I think it would be kind of a fair deal because, look, to get an ace level pitcher like Bauer is right now, I don't think anybody in the game would argue that Bauer hasn't pitched like an ace this year. He's got a 0.68 ERA so far. With a month left in the season, if you ride that hot streak, he can take you right through the playoffs. Him and Garrett Cole, 1-2 in a series, that's as deadly as it gets. From a right-handed side of the mound anyway. That's up there with Strasburg and Scherzer. But, I just don't think the Yankees would take on the personality. And like you said, the whole attention, look at me thing, I just don't think that fits with the Yankee way right now.
Yeah, I mean, especially I think he had a complete game shutout the other day. And he ripped off his jersey right on the mound, and then he had a T-shirt on symbolizing what he did against in Kansas City last year when he threw the ball over the outfield wall. So I admire his personality. Just don't think it would fit in the Yankees clubhouse. So this is actually my last one. It's honestly tough to come up with interesting deals that actually make sense. So give me Donovan Solano, former Yankee legend from the Giants, who's killing it this season.
He's turned
In
it around.
exchange, in exchange for two young starting pitchers, Trevor Stefan and Tanner Myatt. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Both young starting pitchers with upside. It might be a little bit much for Solano, a guy who hasn't really proven himself to be this kind of hitter, because he's batting 375 with a 411 on base percentage this season. I mean, it's ludicrous, and he's never really done it before. So two young starting pitchers might be enough, but I could see Cashman doing it primarily because of the issue I mentioned before, how the infield is looking very weak. Solano plays all over the field, so he would be able to fill in at short or second or third. So, yeah, I could definitely see this trade happening. The Yankees also kind of – it's probably the same issue with Lance Lynn. They wouldn't want to admit defeat. Like, let's take back this guy that we gave up on and then try to turn him into a star. But, yeah, I think whoever would reject this deal would be the Yankees, just because pitching is so thin and they wouldn't want to give up two young guys for Solano.
Yeah, so when you sent me this deal, I was actually like, that sounds like the type of deal Cashman makes.
Yeah.
Where he deals a couple of young guys with good arms, and he gets somebody who's recently turned a corner or is about to turn a corner. So actually, when I read this, I was like, he might make that, and I couldn't find a good reason to shut it down other than, like you said, that two arms for a bat. Maybe it's one arm and some cash or some bonus pool money or something like that. But that was a pretty good deal.
That's really it at this point.
All right, man. That was fun. Appreciate it. Everybody go check out Patrick's channel, Unhinged New York. And hopefully the Yankees will get through this. I don't know, man. It's getting depressing.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Derek. I mean, great time talking about trades. It's always fun to talk about things that are like so out there, but also have a realistic possibility of happening sometimes. So Cashman, if you're listening to this, go get Donovan Solano, trade Trevor Stefan, and Tanner Myatt, I think his name was. I never heard of him before, but make the deal.
All right, you heard it, Brian. All right, thanks, everybody.